I saw a lot of benchmarking to a lot of cities up north, I mentioned, except from the Dallas office.
Sure.
I saw Pflugerville, Austin, Waco, College Station, League City. Funny enough, I lived in a lot of those. I didn't see a lot of benchmarking with border cities. What are our sister cities in Weslaco, Edinburgh, McAllen, FAR? Are they thinking about implementing something like this?
So Del Rio had contemplated it until COVID hit. Then they kind of stopped the notion of that study altogether. El Paso was the first city, one of the first 3 cities to have impact fees in 1988. They sunsetted the program in 16. So either they got their infrastructure done or whatever. So those are the, so to answer your question, no, there are no other border towns that would have a fee.
Why haven't they considered that? Do we know?
Well, I'm sorry?
Why haven't they considered it?
So each city has their own priorities and vision and funding, so it's, within their purview to.
So I work a lot with the EDCs of the valley, and most cities in McAllen, Edinburgh, Weslaco, border towns with a major industrial and commercial concentration are going to 180 of this. They are offering credits and not fees
We've seen that
to people who want to come in and invest.
Yeah, but here's the reality. Infrastructure costs, and someone's going to pay it. And so it would be cleaner if adopted, that all are assessed, even though that there's 180s and other incentives through EDC kinds of agreements that would offset that. But the idea is that all new development gets the assessment because someone has to pay for this infrastructure, and that's how it would be fairly allocated.
And the city and the commission over the past 2 years, I know that the public servants over at the county assessor's office in San Benito, they had a litany of complaints and appeals this year because of such a high rise in property values that Brownsville has, through its good investments through our public servants here have experienced over the past 2 to 3 years with everything that's coming in. Has that been considered into the budget since this was proposed?
The only, we have received comments about the appraisals through the roof, but
Like my house almost doubled in value over the past 2 years.
mine went up and I hated it too. But, and we did incorporate the cost of right-of-way very conservatively. If that's where you're going, the cost of right-of-way assumed in the model. We said anywhere from $5 a square foot in the core of the community to 50 cents in the suburban areas of the city, 50 cents a square foot. That's very conservative. And the reason for that is, and we know that some of those right-of-way dollars are probably higher than $5 a square foot. But if we plugged in those higher numbers over time, we don't want to put the city in a potential refund situation because those numbers are actually lower. So the idea is be conservative, along with the costing of the roadway improvements. Those are all on the conservative side, so that we specifically avoid a potential refund.
That leads into my next one. So the LUA or LOA, correct me on the acronym.
Land use assumptions?
Yes, so the LUAs, you said there's kind of a relook at it every 5 years.
Right, by law, at least every 5 years.
Okay,
Yep.
so let's say we do come up on that stretch half a decade from now, and the numbers are way off.
Yep.
Who
Who
takes responsibility for that?
The advisory committee, that advisory committee, they have a much larger role than just this study. They were tasked to remain as the capital improvements advisory. And so if they feel that there's an inequity in the program, whether it's land use assumption changes or some additions to CIP or any other inequities, they can trigger an update by letter to the commission.
And how many people sit on this advisory committee?
7.
Seven?
There's 7.
And those are new public jobs that would come in, or are those existing?
No, they were appointed at the beginning of the process. Yeah. So that would have been January of 22, I think. Maybe it's beginning of 23.
Yeah, state law requires that 40% comes from the development. So you have Dennis Sanchez that serves on there.
He's new.
He's
He's brand new. He
He's-
was out there in January 22.
But we have Larry.
Realtors,
different
networks,
realtor. Yeah, it's building, real estate, and development industries are represented.
I'm glad the realtors were mentioned. What was the realtor feedback from the meeting a couple of weeks ago?
Kind of mixed bag, quite honestly. The board of realtors, there were several that were very concerned that it's a negative impact, that they would probably go develop elsewhere, that you can't have a fee. You need good quality development in order to then contemplate a fee. as opposed to you need infrastructure to set the framework for good development. So there were some that were very opposed, but there were some that kind of got it. They're like, well, we don't like it, but somebody's got to pay for this stuff. And what's the balance? So we think that we're finding a fairly appropriate balance in this lower collection rate, and that it's a slow ramp up. It'll be reevaluated in 5 years. And from there, the numbers will probably change based on LUA, based on costing. Costing will probably change quite a bit going up. We're seeing that significant increase quite a bit.
Was accountability brought up though? I think that's a major concern for all of us here. I speak for, there's a couple of developments.
Accountability in what way?
Accountability of the use of funds of the collection of this year.
Oh, no, the city's on the hook. So the CRF, the adoption of CRF, that means that monies that are collected are gonna be expended on projects. You can't just collect monies and sit on it. They have to be expending those monies, advancing those projects on that CIP by law. The CIAC will there's a semi-annual report that they file, how much monies have been collected, what's been expended. So there's an accountability perspective using the advisory committee and their filing of the letter each year to the commission.
So based on the formula that you have proposed, that's gonna be recommended, and the fee that's gonna be recommended, how close does that get you to the goal amount, based on the?
To the 197? Oh, the 197 is at 50%. You go at 10%, you're 20 million, somewhere in
So
there.
the program can last decades.
Sorry?
The program can last decades.
Yeah, so we've worked with communities I've worked with Arlington, for example, since 1993. And in 2016, there was the discussion of sunsetting the program. Because while the majority of the roads were there were still some that weren't finished, but they felt that, we're almost there. In the end, they decided that, we'll hang on to it. So this next go around is probably gonna be the sunset. Plano sunsetted their program, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. Once the projects are all there, there's nothing else to build, right?